Welcome! Today's little jaunt is around the main section of Hocking Hills State Park. We'd arrived early to avoid the crowds, only to be met with cloudy skies, some drizzle hanging in the air and no other visitors. So we quickly made our way to the lodge, which is an impressive structure complete with a mountain of information inside and out. As we were looking for the shortcut to access what appears to be called the Grandma Gatewood Trail, having decided to miss out on the upper section, because reasons. This access drops you along the bottom of the gorge, and walking down into it is both an ethereal and sensory experience. It gets dark very quickly as you descend the stairs, so take care with footing. And all you can hear around you are different types of birds and critters scrabbling around without necessarily seeing them. As they say when hiking in nature, you don't have to outrun the bear, just your slowest companion. And luckily, I had Mrs. Faceless with me for just such an eventuality. Our first stop on this part of the trail was at the concrete stepping stone bridge across Old Man's Creek, conveniently with an A-frame bridge above. Whilst it was still dark in the gorge, the early morning light was starting to break through, requiring care not to blow out the sky. The gorge really does have an abundance of vivid green hues as mosses adorn the rocks and vegetation clings precariously from every fracture. As I wandered a little further down the trail, enjoying the peace and tranquility, Mrs. Faceless was busy taking a shot, looking back upstream to the stepping stone bridge. Catching me up, it was time to venture into a narrow tunnel. Remember to duck is the advice for anyone over 5'6". Just saying. At the exit to the tunnel, the trail splits. Right takes you to Old Man's Cave and the exit trail. Left takes you towards Lower Falls. And Lower Falls it is for us, with a quick look back to the bridge and Old Man's Cave. At Lower Falls, the bridge taking you across the creek is very quaint, if suddenly a little steep on the downward section of the far side. Luckily, we both had good grippy footwear, but that didn't stop a nifty shuffling of feet to maintain balance and composure. We're going to stop here and spend some time photographing Lower Falls, but if you want to carry on down the trail, keep going past the bridge and you'll eventually end up at Whispering Cave. We cheated and shot that using the shortcut. I'll leave a link to that vid. So for us, it's Lower Falls. Now this is pretty, but has clearly seen some erosion over the years, with what looks like an old bridge footing still visible. Not to mention branches and tree stumps dotted around. With a nice constant flow of water, we hoped there would be some more circular motion of leaves or bubbles in the water, but sadly that's not to be. After a little wander around, Mrs. Faceless and I chose our initial compositions and set to clicking away and asking for a critique. Rinse and repeat. I particularly like this root structure, so try to incorporate it as a foreground, using the trees as a frame for the waterfall. From Lower Falls there is a steep climb up to the exit trail, which includes this rather fabulous winding steel staircase. Now we just had to negotiate that climb. And by the magic of editing, we made easily and quickly up to the rim where we'd completed our loop to Lower Falls. Having hiked from the middle entrance down to the Lower Falls, we returned at the crack of dawn a few days later, this time to hike the top end of the Grandma Gatewood Trail, taking in Upper Falls before heading, this time, to Old Man's Cave. From the northern end of the car park, we entered the trail system. Once again, there's a lot of interlinking trails here, so pay attention to where you are and the signs. We just paused to take a quick look from the stone bridge that would shortly be in our compositions. Upper Falls, located under the bridge we crossed earlier, is a nice start to the trail. We got there early as this trail does get busy, as in very busy. My original thought was use these roots just down here with the tree here and here to frame the waterfall. That doesn't quite work, or I can't quite get it to work. Probably the latter. So I've just moved slightly to my right, and what I've got is I have the roots in the foreground, bridge and the waterfall off in the distance. Might be a little too centred, but I'm just going to use that tree on the left to anchor the picture. I do quite like that. There's a lot of texture in the rocks on the right that I want to keep, and I'm seeing the plunge pool as well. There is but one little issue here, and as you can probably see, just down there, there's a little stand here with your cell phone marker. It's just coming into view, so little post-processing on that should get rid of it. So if we see here, it's just coming in above the root. Some things to consider here. As you move to the left, you start losing the bridge behind the foliage, and as we walk behind Mrs. Faceless, as we move to the right, you're still getting the bridge in. You open up big bright area of sky which is going to blow out. So no clouds, no texture, so we don't want that in. However, the rock face is pretty cool, got to say. Mrs. Faceless liked the over the roots angle, but not the selfie post. Next stop on the trail was the Devil's Bathtub, a beautiful stone bridge carrying the winding trail over some whirlpools. Mrs. Faceless positioned herself up on the bank to get the best perspective of the S-curve she could find. The cloudy skies were providing some flat light, but it was still pretty dark in the gorge, so tripods and longer exposures were the order of the day. Getting there early was key to having the trail to ourselves. Crossing the bridge allows a quick look into the tubs, or whirlpools, and information on its creation, as well as a clear reminder of the dangers. A little further along the trail, we once again found ourselves at the steps under the A-frame bridge. Having shot that previously, we crossed, with Mrs. Faceless taking in the textures. And it wasn't long before we reached the tunnel again. The gorge is dark and this tunnel is darker, so tread carefully and watch your head. Ask me how I know. Exiting the tunnel with skull mostly intact, the trail splits to Lower Falls, where we'd gone previously, or goes right over the stone bridge to our destination this time, Old Man's Cave. Across the bridge and up some steps gives a view back up the gorge, now with a few intrepid visitors starting to appear. Here's a quick pan from within Old Man's Cave, from looking back up the gorge swinging right to the bridge and the trail heading down to Lower Falls and ultimately Whispering Cave beyond. And having filmed that pan, I needed to shoot a panorama, just as another photographer arrived, so he's in there for scale. One last look back at the cave and the bridge as we climbed our way back out. And on the exit trail was this sign detailing some of the history and geology of the cave. As we arrive back at the lodge, that's the upper portion of Grandma Gatewood Trail completed, and where we sign off for today. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed travelling along with us today, a like and a subscribe would be much appreciated. Until next time.